Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about how I just finished, or I'm about to finish a 10-day fast. And something important to do when you're about to end a long fast is to have some lemon water. This kind of lets your stomach know that there's food coming. So Justin's helping me out today. He's going to be reading your questions. And what we're going to start off with is a little video that I made. I intended it for about 10 minutes, but it's about 20 minutes. And it talks about all the benefits of fasting, other people who know way more about fasting than I do. This was my fifth 6 or more day-long fast. I think fasting is really good for you. It's quite a controversial subject. So the next thing you're going to see is a video I made about 2 hours ago, just describing what I think of as all the benefits of fasting. And then after that, we'll be back and I'll be eating and answering your questions.
right, you should be good to go.
Hi. So what I'm going to do after this is I'll just upload the video where I talk about, I'm out of breath. I've been running up food. I'm going to upload the video separately where I talk about fasting. So yeah, I did a 10-day fast. The way that I track my fasting is with an app called Life. And Life is, it kind of tells you when you should be going into ketosis, when you might experience immune cell regeneration. And it's for intermittent fasting and also for prolonged fasting. And I think it kind of underestimates how long it takes for you to get into ketosis. So it probably takes more than like 6 or 8 hours to get into ketosis. But anyway, so I had some lemon water. Lemon water is important to let your body know that food is coming. And what I have to eat today is, so I was online and I was trying to find, I'm trying to be vegan keto. So what happens is you become keto adapted over the course of the fast because your body is eating the fat on your body as food. And so that's basically fat adapted. So I was trying to find some keto stuff because it's good to be keto for a few days. I can't do it longer than that. And so this is a, this is supposed to be like a flax meal tortilla, but as you can see, I couldn't figure it out. It actually smells amazing. So what I'm going to start doing is, probably the first thing I'll have is, this is a parsley, ginger, cashew, lime, and whatever else I put into it, smoothie. So I'm going to kind of have this and then kind of see how I feel and answer whatever questions you have. And, the last thing I have to eat is, we'll see how much I get through. This is some coconut yogurt and I made it the other day. You just take coconut milk, you put 2 probiotic capsules in it, you leave it somewhere warm. Even I couldn't screw this up. So cool. What's the questions, Justinette?
More info on lemon water.
Oh, lemon water. What I've heard is that, I just want to eat. What I've heard is that it's got some sugar in it, it's got some acid in it, and then it gets the enzymes in your stomach to start going. So what happens is if you eat too much, the first time I ever broke a fast, I broke my fast with mussels and French fries and beer. So like for me, I can just break a fast however way. There are people who say you should break your fast with fruit juices. There's this thing called refeeding syndrome that can be quite unpleasant. I've never had that. So I can just jump right into eating food, but you have to kind of, this smells amazing. And my sense of smell is kind of off the hook. Like I drove Justin to the airport the other day and I could smell the Applebee's across the street, and Applebee's isn't even like my jam. So yeah, where was I at? I'm so thinking about food. Anyway, lemon water is really good to kind of get your stomach primed for food. And I'm going to start on this now.
Do you want questions all throughout or when?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Do you have any biochemical evidence of autophagy?
Yeah, you have biochemical evidence of autophagy when your weight drops, because that's you eating the fat off your body, but you don't have it for yourself. So in the presentation that I'll upload, I'll talk about how some of the evidence for like autophagy and these kinds of various different benefits. So there's a guy called Walter Longo, and he's shown that there's cancer and other kinds of benefits of fasting. And what they show is that the way that they conceptualize it is that there's 2 modes. There's kind of a maintenance mode and there's a growth mode. And when you're eating all the time, what happens is you're basically in growth mode. And then when you fast, you go into maintenance mode. And that means you start recycling old cells. So there's some evidence for autophagy because your immune cells, the idea is that your white blood cells and red blood cells drop. And then when you start eating again, they become regenerated. And so people have said that this is immune cell kind of regeneration.
Can you discuss your prior fasts leading up to this one?
So I started doing intermittent fasting about 2.5 years ago, and I was just doing kind of time restricted eating. And then I did like a couple like 1-day fasts. And then I finally got up to doing a long week-long fast. And on my first fast, I didn't know that you should take electrolytes. So I didn't take any salt. And my blood pressure is something like 90/60. So I was just dizzy and lightheaded. And by the end of it, I was really shuffling around. And now, as you'll see in the other video, what I do is I take, so there's this, I can't remember his name, this totally insane guy who, I call him insane because he just talks about in a really loud, obnoxious way, but he's the snake juice guy, the snake juice diet. And what he says is that you should dilute baking soda, potassium, magnesium, and sodium in 2 liters of water. And when you're fasting, that is all that you should have. And unfortunately, it just makes the water taste terrible. So instead of doing that, I take all those different salts and I put them in a container. I put half a teaspoon in my tea. And then if I feel lightheaded or any symptoms of kind of low blood pressure, then I'll take another one. But the last few days of my fast, I think I took maybe half a teaspoon a day. And this guy called Sim Land, who I recommend, he has a channel where he talks all about autophagy and fasting. And he talks a lot about electrolytes. He's got a blog about, the different symptoms you might feel. Another way to get your electrolytes is by taking an Epsom salt bath. So you can do that and you'll feel much better. Other fast, I'm totally distracted. I did a second fast where I took some salt. So I did a fast with my best friend, Els, and my friend Jeannie, and she lives out in the countryside. And we all fasted together for 5 days. I stayed on for 8 days, and we all took salt. We did something called a saltwater flush to begin with. That's something you can do or not do. You can look it up, or you can ask me about it. It's kind of gross. And then we took long walks. We did yoga, and that was pretty nice, although we were staggered in terms of when we go into ketosis. So the first day and the second day, the first day is okay. Second day sucks. For many people, the third day sucks. And then when you go into ketosis, then you feel fine. It's only when you're depleting your glycogen stores. So your liver has got this glucose stored in it. And it's when you're depleting those stores that you tend to feel pretty terrible. And then I did a fast, actually, while I was moving in June. And then I did another one in January. And fasting in the winter is definitely more difficult. So it's not even that cold here. And we are just, I was really freezing for some time. And I was sleeping with a hot water bottle, sorry. So yeah, that's all stuff that you have to think about. So there's a bunch of stuff that sucks about it, especially the first couple of days. But I think the benefits really outweigh all of that.
Was there a point when you wanted to give up before the 10th day? And if so, which day was the toughest?
Third day was not very good. Third day was horrible. But there was nobody eating anything. So when I decided to start fasting, when Jeffrey was away in San Francisco and Justin's wife, Aria, was away. And Justin only eats 1 meal a day. And bacon smells good to me, but I don't eat bacon. And so it wasn't really that big a deal because it wasn't like I was smelling food all the time. So I arranged it so that I wouldn't be smelling stuff that I wanted to eat all the time. Because Jeffrey eats like 3 meals a day and Aria eats pretty regularly. But Justin's on OMAD, 1 meal a day.
Are 0-calorie fizzy drinks allowed on a fast?
I had a few towards the end. You have to just worry about like artificial sweeteners. So if you're telling your body that food is coming, then your body's going to expect that food is coming and it's going to suck. So what can happen is if you have artificial sweeteners, your stomach can start rumbling. The worst thing that you can do, although towards the end of a fast, it doesn't bother me that much. I chewed gum yesterday, but don't chew gum in the first 3 days because your body, I don't actually know if there's evidence that it'll spike your insulin, but it certainly doesn't feel very good.
Did you experience anxiety?
Yeah. Well, not that bad. There was a couple days that I was really sad. So there was a day that I felt just, kind of morose and apathetic. My emotions have definitely not been normal, but I do have these periods towards the end of just euphoria. And people do talk about this on fasts, like religious people talk about having a euphoric and blissful sorts of feelings. But in the first 3 days, you just feel sad. This time I didn't feel very anxious, but when I last fasted, I was up really late one night. Sometimes you'll sleep badly. Every one of my fasts has been super different. So you can't even talk about them from like one day to the next or one person to the next. Even one person can have really different fasts. And I think I was up at 3 a.m. and I felt, I'm not really paranoid, but I felt kind of paranoid. And that, kind of would make sense. There's a lot of heightening of sensation. There's heightening of smell. And you also just tend to get less sleep and you're more wakeful.
As a biological female, does a 10-day fast mess with your cycles and such? I've heard that fertility cycles become interrupted during food scarcity conditions.
Well, one time I fasted and I was late, like 4 days late. This time I fasted after ovulation. So there's not really much that could have happened. So during the follicular phase, that's when your uterine lining is building up. And I could see how if you were fasting, that might not happen. And the luteal phase tends to be less variable. So I'm about to start, and I think I'll be right on time. But it does happen that people's cycles get really screwed up.
How about anxiety levels?
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, just now, one thing that happens is kind of misattribution. So if you go for a brisk walk, or even if you run up the stairs, your heart rate will start going. You'll notice this, like even making the bed, you just have this like really strong heart rate. And then I just think that that's just a heightened heart rate. But what can happen is, you'll attribute it to anxiety because that's usually when your heart is racing.
James Gannon wants to know, when I broke a 5-day fast with vegan keto, I became extremely fatigued, more tired than when fasting. Does that make any sense? Later that day, I ate fruit and felt much better.
Oh, yeah. This guy was on Twitter. Yeah, man, whatever. Sugar. I mean, it could happen that like I eat this and then I have a strong desire for sugar afterwards. I've not really ever kept up vegan keto for more than a few days, but I've definitely been vegan keto for like 3 or 4 days after a fast. Each fast is different. I don't really know. I guess, no, I am not even going to speculate. I don't know.
Andrew wants to know, what is the threshold body weight before it becomes dangerous and your body starts eating muscle?
I think it probably has more to do with your body fat percentage than your body weight. So you could be, 50 kilos and like 4 feet tall. I know I'm mixing imperial and metric. I'm too hungry. But I think what could happen is, I'm 24% body fat. Or I was the last time I measured it. And that's pretty safe. If you were really, really underweight, I think you'd have to have some body fat. So the benefits of fasting are not just for weight loss. That's why a lot of people do it. But there are people who do it and they try as hard as they can to get weight back on after they finish. And so I think you should probably be careful if you are, I don't know, like BMI 18 or 17, or if your body fat percentage is super, super low. But there's athletes, who definitely do it. Or you could just stick to doing it the shortest amount of time for the benefits that you want. So I did 10 days because I stopped feeling hungry and I felt good. I was just planning on doing it for a week.
Are 0-calorie fizzy drinks allowed? Asks Tupperware Terry.
Hi, Tupperware Terry. Yes, they're fine. Just don't eat, just don't have anything with like unsweetened. I had a couple of those, whatever, La Croix, but regular water is really better, honestly. If you go to, if you go to fasting Reddit, then you'll see these people debate all day long. There are some people who are super hardcore and they're like, no, you should just have water, or you should just have water and electrolytes. I had water and electrolytes and tea and like probably 3 fizzy drinks over the whole time. I probably had a couple cups of rooibos and a couple cups of jasmine or white tea. One thing to be careful about is if you drink coffee, coffee's fine, but coffee doesn't have any theanine in it. And theanine makes you feel less jittery after you have caffeine. So if you drink green tea, it's got theanine in it. And so it won't make you feel terrible, like the world is ending.
Victor Garcia wants to know, why do you fast?
Hold on a second. Theanine, by the way, you can take it in pill form, so you can take it with your coffee. Why do I fast? Well, I was just visiting family for the past, about 3 weeks ago. I was visiting family, and I usually skip dinner. But everybody thinks that skipping dinner is like a crime against nature. So I didn't get to skip dinner. Then I was in New York and I was going out to eat a lot. And so I gained a bunch of weight. And on me, like a tiny amount of weight is, I'm almost 5'1". So that was one reason I wanted to lose weight. Another reason is, I think, for health benefits. So this might be a hyperbolic statement, but there are people who say that it cancer-proofs you. I don't know if I would go necessarily that far, but I actually think I'm full. But it does actually clean up cells that are misbehaving. So your body doesn't actually go in and get at those cells that are not actually operating. And one idea is that cancer really eats sugar. So what Walter Longo did is he did an experiment with chemotherapy with rats that had cancer, and they found that fasted rats, the chemo targeted the cancer more easily. And fasted rats, fasting was actually preserving the cells that were genetically normal. And so I think that's another reason that I fast. It also decreases your IGF-1. It increases your insulin sensitivity. It, in my view, makes my skin look better. And what are the other reasons that I do it? It does make you feel awesome. It gives you a different attitude towards food. It makes you less of a, kind of slave to hunger. Like if you have to skip a meal, it's kind of not a big deal.
Is it dangerous to eat too much after a long fast?
Oh, we're about to find out. Yes, it is. It just can make you feel like terrible, basically. Mm.
What are the fast lengths that are optimal? What's the longest fast length that's still safe? What is the shortest length of fasting that you will still experience benefits?
There's a really good video about this that's linked in another video. I can't remember the woman's name off the top of my head now, but Simland also talks about this as well. So like a 1-day fast will potentially get you into ketosis if you're fat adapted. 3-day fast gets you to the point where you might be in autophagy, where your body's taking up cells that are not working correctly and immune cells that are not working correctly and recycling them. A 3-day fast is pretty good to improve your insulin sensitivity. And then when you go longer, you just get deeper into the processes that I'm talking about. So I think that Sim Land has got a video about a 5-day fast that he did. I did one longer. And it also depends on kind of how much food you're wearing. That's what fat is. There's obviously decorative fat, like boobs and butts. That's decorative fat. But most of the fat that we carry is provisioning for times when we don't have food. And if you never use it, I think I have some impression that that's unnatural and that you should try to use the fat that you've put on.
Do we know if there are any effective appetite suppressants to aid fasting?
Mm-hmm. You can have green tea. I know people who take Adderall when they're fasting. I don't know. You might have to take half the dose. There are people who drink coffee, and I think that there's some other, for me, what I often miss is flavor, and I miss salt. So when I take my electrolytes, they actually taste terrible, but that definitely works. Having a big glass of water, for those of you that intermittent fast, you know that if you feel hungry, sometimes having a big drink of water will help out with that a lot. And then going for a walk, just getting your mind off of it. What happens is with ghrelin and the hormones that make you hungry is they tend to cycle with when you would normally eat your meals. And so if you just wait for that normal meal time to end, then you often will stop feeling hungry. So the first couple days, I felt ravenously hungry at 8:30, which is when I usually have my breakfast, and around noon when I usually have my lunch, but I didn't feel hungry at dinner because I don't usually have dinner.
Any changes to your skin after the fast? Asks Sridhar Ratnakumar.
Yeah, I think it looks nice. I would you normally, so I'm like just premenstrual right now, and I would normally have a pimple, and I don't have any. I think I look nicer, but then again, if you ask a woman about how she looks after a beauty treatment, the difference will often be imperceptible to everybody but her. But I think that my skin looks better and brighter after a fast. And there's some evidence. So the people on the fasting boards on Reddit and people like that will argue about this. But one idea is that if you were to fast instead of getting something like gastric bypass surgery, that the autophagy would actually take care of loose skin. Now, many people argue against this and say that you would still have loose skin. There's a famous case of a guy called Angus Barbieri who was, I can't remember how much he weighed, 350, 400, something like that. And he fasted for over a year. And he just took salt and multivitamins. And it looks like from pictures of him that he has loose skin. So that's one thing that people say fasting helps with. But I imagine that it's individual to individual, that some people will have their skin tighten up and other people not.
Did you reduce physical activity? Asks FN.
Yeah. The day after I started, I went to my second ever ecstatic dance. And ecstatic dance is like hippy dippy. You can move how you feel. There are people there who are 20. There are people there who are 80. So that's pretty relaxed. But I made the mistake of going to a pretty hardcore fitness class with Aria the other night. And I sat out 2 of the songs. I managed to do okay, but I shouldn't have done that. So yeah, yoga and walks and stuff like that. I wouldn't do CrossFit. I wouldn't do any kind of heavy weightlifting, but people really differ on this. There are people, like if you watch Brightside, or there's another few videos about fasting, there are people who are like, I kept up my normal gym routine. I'm like, okay. So you'll have to kind of see how you feel. But if you feel lightheaded, you need to take your electrolytes.
You might want to riff a little bit. The questions are kind of slowing down.
I'm just going to eat. There are whole channels where people just watch other people eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
One reason that I made this parsley cashew ginger concoction is that after you come off a long fast, just everything that is food is so delicious. And I actually think I would like this anyway. I didn't think I was going to like it so much, but I think that you could really actually reset your food preferences if you were trying foods for the first time when you were ravenously hungry. There's a saying in German that says, Hunger ist die beste Soße, which is almost the exact as it would be in English, which is hunger is the best sauce. So just everything just tastes delicious. And as I said, my sense of taste and smell are super heightened.
What changes, if any, to sexual drive during the fast?
My God. I didn't feel like my libido evaporated. It was gone. I think, I don't want to get too nitty gritty, but if I actually started having sex, I liked it. But the desire to have sex, the motivation was just not even there at all. I had just no interest in it whatsoever. And if you see What I've learned, which is another really great video about fasting. They talk about the Minnesota starvation experiment. And he actually contrasts this with fasting. So the Minnesota starvation experiment, they took men and they gave them 3,600 calories a day for a while, and then they only gave them 1,500 calories a day for a long time. And those men were obsessed with food. They were cold all the time. They had no sex drive. And they were doing things like pilfering raw turnips and chewing 10 pieces of gum a day and swallowing them. And so it does, does have an effect on libido. Basically, your body is just kind of in food finding mode. It's not really very interested in all the rest.
Were you able to do complex cognitive activities like planning travel or reading science papers? That's from your fiance.
I would imagine.
That's from your fiance, Jeffrey Miller, which I hasten to add because someone was asking if you're my wife for the last time, people. No, Diana and I, not only is she not my wife, but we have no romantic or sexual relationship. I'm happily married in a monogamous relationship. Jeffrey Miller and Diana Fleischman are fiancés. Just wanted to clarify for the curious audience, which Clint seems to not understand this.
Yeah.
Gone.
All right. So, as Jeffrey knows, but thank you for asking, Jeffrey. It was around day 4 that I was able to start doing stuff again. The first 3 days, I wasn't really doing very much. And the main thing that I like to watch when I'm just laying around, like the first couple days of a fast when I don't want to do anything, is actually, so you shouldn't watch cooking shows. I watched so many cooking shows. That's where I got the idea for this monstrosity. But I was watching Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares because it's awesome to watch somebody just spit out food, just be like, food is terrible. I'm like, oh, food's not good at all. So that was the thing I did for the first 2, most of the 3rd day. And then around the 4th day, I actually did all of our China and Bali honeymoon planning, and I did a bunch of wedding planning and stuff. So it does take a while. That's why I think that if you work a regular kind of 9 to 5, you work at a kind of 9 to 5 regular Monday through Friday job, and you want to do a long fast, either I would do it on vacation. I know people only get like 10 days of vacation in the United States. I just came from the UK where you get like 35. But if you only get 10 days of vacation, then what you can do is start on a Friday, and then by Monday, you should be able to think again. But what I would also suggest is that you start off with time restricted eating. You try to go, for some people, not eating for 14 hours is a really big accomplishment. For some people, not eating for 20 hours is a really big accomplishment. For some people, not eating for 11 days is a really big accomplishment, but you have to kind of work your way up. You can't just go all in. So I think if you are thinking about doing a long fast, if you read up about it, if you think about it, again, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. So it's pretty unlikely you're going to meet a doctor who's like, yeah, go for it, fast. But there are definitely medically supervised places where you can do it. And there's a lot of, really smart people who swear by it. So I would say, think about doing shorter fasts and then read up on it and see what you think about the evidence. Because right now, as I said, the evidence is really animal-based. There's been evidence for a really long time that having like super low calorie, I can't remember how low, less than 1,000 a day, is good for longevity. But the evidence actually is not in humans. It's in C. elegans and in rats and in mice. And recently there's been a really long-term study with monkeys where they have a group that's calorie restricted and they're seeing what happens when they get old. And I would rather fast and eat very little, or none at all, actually just water and tea 10 days out of the year, rather than eat only 1,000 calories a day. Because as I said, it's much, much easier to eat nothing than it is to eat a tiny little bit. And Jason Fung talks about this, that there's actually evidence that if you eat super low calorie, your metabolism slows down. But if you eat nothing, your metabolism ends up speeding up.
What's the deal with no calorie booze?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, liquor. Many liquors are 0 calorie.
Really?
Yeah, like they say whiskey and vodka are fine on keto. Like shots, a few shots.
I've got no idea. It wouldn't even occur to me to drink. And there's a guy on the fasting forums who said, I'm fasting, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do, but in order to get to sleep at night, I need 2 shots of tequila. So he was drinking 2 shots of tequila every night. Man, I don't know. I don't think it would be very good for you. It has sugar in it. I'm really confused. I definitely didn't think that there was 0-calorie booze.
Well, 0 carbs is actually what I meant.
But I mean, how many calories can there be in like a shot of vodka or even 2 shots of vodka?
What's it made of if it's not made of sugar? That's fermented sugar, isn't it? Am I gonna have to look this up?
We'll have to check it out.
Okay, hold on. Well, I'll still answer your questions, but I'm really confused.
Okay. In the meantime,
Yeah.
Carrie says, the American dream, spending your allotted 10 days of relax and holiday to starve yourself.
It's so good for you, though. Really, it is. Have sugar. Mm-hmm.
Okay. James Oswald says that
wow.
all alcohol has 7 calories per gram. Alcohol
Man.
doesn't break keto if it has no sugar, but it always has calories. Yeah, so I misspoke. I meant carbs, not calories.
Wow. Honestly, I have no idea. I can't imagine that. So the super hardcore people say that you shouldn't even have tea because it could mess with autophagy. I don't know. I don't think that's true. There's a fast mimicking diet that Dr. Longo talks about, where I think you can order like little packets of soup or whatever, and it's supposed to have the same benefits, but you can eat. I'm skeptical of that, but alcohol, yeah, no idea.
So we got some latecomers. Mark says, so you went an entire 10 days not eating?
I did. I went an entire 10 days not eating. In fact, I use this app to track myself. It's been now 10 days and well, now I just broke fast, but yeah, I went 10 days, just water, tea, and salt.
And Brandy Manhattan asks, did you have any discomfort concerning body temperature? I can answer that one. Yes, because the heat was blasting. Like
I was so cold. I was so cold the first 2 days, especially. The first time I ever fasted, I was living in the south of England, and I felt like I was 85 years old. I walked out to go get some sparkling water because that was a real treat for me to have sparkling water because I was just drinking flat, whatever, tap water. And there were like 3 dudes on my street because I lived in Portsmouth. 3 dudes on my street in the UK wearing no shirt, and I was wearing 2 coats. It was just, yeah, I was freezing. But then, it gets a little bit better. Although Justin here, because it was just me and him in the house, Arya, his wife, was gone. And Jeffrey, my fiance, was gone. And so he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. And I was like, am I going crazy? Like, is it not cold? But it actually had gotten quite cold here. It's just, it was more about Justin than it was about the temperature. What time is it?
12:58.
Cool. We should wrap it up in like 10 minutes or whenever the questions run out, y'all.
Cool.
Have the questions run out?
There's a lull.
There's a lull. Anybody else? Well, all right, we'll wrap it up.
Why don't you give your closing thoughts?
I will give my closing thoughts. So in a minute, I'm going to upload the video where I talk about the benefits of fasting. Sorry about the technical glitches. We just never did this kind of switching between camera and screencast before. I'm sure we'll iron it out. Thank you for joining me. I just finished a 10-day fast and I'm really, really full now. And I will talk to you guys more. I mean, really, you should check out on the other video that I'm going to upload, some of the other people who talk about fasting. So there's Sim Land, there's Rhonda Patrick, there's Jason Fung, there's Walter Longo. Check out the Fasting Fat Man. He's this guy on YouTube who's amazing, who did a 6-month-long fast. And I'm pretty sure that fasting, I'm again speculating, I'm not a doctor, but fasting is probably safer than gastric bypass. So I think that, as a culture, we should really not be afraid of skipping a meal or or not eating very much. And I think that, most of the diseases that people die from, things like heart disease and cancer, could be mitigated by fasting. Again, I'm just a real adherent to fasting. I think it's really, really good for you. So I'll upload that other video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
You might want to tell them to subscribe.
Oh yeah, subscribe. You could subscribe to my channel because I put out a video now and then, and I'll put out another video just today. It's be two in one day. It's gonna be amazing. All right, thank you.